Okay, so the first thing you need to do is once Logic is open to click File, New from Template. And if this message pops up, you press Close. And if this message pops up, don't save. Now, the template that you need to select is called Composing with Chords. Here it is, Composing with Chords. So once you open the project, it should look something like this. So, okay, here you will notice that there are two 8-bar sections. This is section 1, this is section 2. Each one lasts for 8 bars. Now, before we get into anything else, I just want to remind you all of something very important. I'm going to bring up the keyboard here and just remind you of something that you need to understand before embarking on this project. So, here we have our good friend. Oh, hang on, why don't I have any sound here? Ah, because this is not selected. Here we have our good friend, the C major scale. And you'll notice that there are 8 notes of this scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But really, note number 8 is the same note as note number 1. That's the octave. Now, if we build a chord on each note of the scale, we get this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we don't call this chord number 8. We call this chord number 1 again. So all of these chords are diatonic to the key of C major. That means they are found within the key of C major. This is our home bass chord, chord number 1. Okay, now I'll just leave this open here so you can see what I'm doing, but you actually won't need to see this. This is just for instructional purposes. Okay, so we open up this project and you can see here, again, 2 sections, section A, section B. Each section is 8 bars long. Now, you'll notice here that there are some chords already inputted into the piano track here, okay? I won't play it for you now because you can listen to it yourself, but what I will do is show you what these chords are in 2 different ways. The first thing I'm going to do is press Command, hold down Command and press 5, and that will open up my score editor. Now, you can see here that in the A section, well, and in the B section, actually, there are only 3 different kinds of chords, and these chords are chord number 1, chord number 4, and chord number 5. Okay, remember they are called number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 because of the fact that they are built on notes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the C major scale. Now, chords number 1, 4, and 5, which are also called the tonic, subdominant, and dominant, these chords are called the primary triads, chords 1, 4, and 5. Now, in the first section, the A section, you are only allowed to use chords 1, 4, or 5. And as you can see here in the score editor, these are the chords that we have here. This is chord number 1, C, E, and G. This is chord number 4. It's got F, A, and C. And this is chord number 5. It's got G, B, and D. Okay, so I'm just going to close this up here. Now, what you need to do for this project is you need to create your own chord progressions for the A section and for the B section. Okay, but we're going to start with the A section. And what I'm going to do first of all is I'm actually just going to move these out of the way because I'm going to first of all show you how to do this starting from scratch. So there's 3 different ways we can do this. We can either play the chords in using the musical keyboard and our hands. We can draw the chords in using the piano roll editor, or we can input them using the score editor. So I'm going to show you all three methods. The first one is I'm going to show you how to play them in. So first of all, let's have a listen to our drum beat here. Okay, cool. So what you want to do is you want to choose some kind of pattern to realize, well, a chord progression, or create a chord progression of your choice. But remember, we're only allowed to use chords 1, 4, or 5. So once you've come up with a chord progression, I want you to practice it with the drum kit. So here's an example. You might go like this. We'll start the drums, and we'll go chord number 1, chord number 4, chord number 5, and we'll stay on chord number 5, and then let's repeat it. 1, chord number 4, then chord number 5. Okay, now remember, you need to create a pattern, and a pattern only occurs when something is repeated, okay? So in this case, my pattern lasted for 4 bars, and then it repeated. Now you can have a 1-bar pattern, you can have a 2-bar pattern, or you can have a 4-bar pattern that repeats. So let's now hit record and try and get this 4-bar pattern in there. So I'm going to hit record. You should hear 4 clicks. 2, 3, 4. Stop there. Now, you can see here I've recorded 4 bars. Now, what you might want to do is to quantize that and get that nice and in time. To do that, you can click here where it says, region, this little arrow here. See this word quantize off? If you click on the word off, you can select 1/8 notes, and what it's going to do now is nudge all those notes so they're perfectly in time with the grid. Now, again, you've got 4 bars here. You could just press Command R to repeat it, okay? Or you could hold down Option, and while Option's held down, click and drag. That does the same thing, okay? Now, you can see here we've got an A section repeated. There's a nice pattern here. When we get to the B section, you can use chords outside of those primary triads of chords 1, 4, and 5. So you can use any of these chords. Okay, so maybe for the B section, notice how I just moved this cycle region across. Perhaps for the B section, I might do something like this. I might go chord number 2. In fact, I'll just change the octave here so you can see what I'm doing. Chord number 2, chord number 1, and then chord number 5. I like that chord progression. So 2, 1, 5. Okay. And this time maybe I'll do a 2-bar pattern just for something different. Let's try that. Ready? I'm going to hit record. 2, 3, 4. So. Okay, so there I've got a 2-bar pattern, but I've got that chord progression now lasting for 2 bars. I've looped it, and now I'm going to hit Command R, repeat it, and I've got that pattern now lasting for the whole 8 bars. Okay, so we've got 2 different chord progressions, each one lasting for 8 bars. That's basically how you complete the assignment if you're going to play the chords in. Remember, you can quantize it again if you like. Okay, if you are going to use the piano roll editor, let me just delete this and I'll bring what I've got back here. Let's bring these 2 back here. This is how the project opened. Now watch this. If I press Command 4, this opens the piano roll editor, but you don't see anything yet because I hadn't selected these. Oops. I don't know why I'm not seeing that here. Let's try that again. Command 4. Here we go. So when we open the piano roll editor, you can see all the chords here on the piano roll. This is our 1 chord, 4 chord, and 5 chord. Now, if you want to create a chord progression or a pattern using the piano roll editor, well, you can simply just modify the chords by either selecting them or moving them up and down like that, or you can also change the length of the chords like this, and then if you hold down Option, it'll copy whatever's selected like this. So you can create different rhythms. See, you modify the length of the chord, then Option, click and drag. That's one way of doing it. That's a very easy way of doing it. Remember, they can be any length at all. Just try not to get a little too wacky with that because you'll end up creating some quite unusual rhythms, which is not necessarily what you want. So remember, patterns are necessary. So if it's a 2-bar pattern, that's fine. Remember, it's not a pattern until there's some kind of repetition. So once you've got your pattern, then Option, click and drag. It needs to be repeated in order for there to be a pattern. So there we go. That's using the piano roll editor. Remember, if you want to draw in notes as well, you can. You've just got to activate your pencil tool by pressing Command. Okay, now, finally here, I'm going to show you how to do this with the score editor. So, again, I'll just go Command Z, undo all of this, so we're back to where we started. So if I open the score editor now by going Command 5, okay, you can see your A section here on the score editor. Notice how each chord is just there as minims, okay? So I've got C, F, and G chords. Now, let's say I like this chord progression that's already here, but I want to actually create some different rhythms. So how about we start from scratch? I'll just delete all of this. Delete. Okay. Now remember, to use the score editor, and you want to actually play the chords in, make sure this button is red here. Okay. And you need to select the rhythm that you want to use before you play the chord on the keyboard. So let's say you want a minim first. I'm going to select minim, and then I'm going to play this chord, the C major chord. Here we go. And so I've got a minim rhythm on my C major. Now I'm going to select crotchet and go. So we've got ta, ah, ta, ta. Okay, and then we might go to the F chord, and I might do the same rhythm. I might start with I might start with a minim, play my F chord, and then I might go instead, just to make it a little bit more interesting, I might go quaver and go T, T, ta. So you can have a listen to that. Now if you like that, you can just select it all and then go Command R and just repeat that throughout the whole 8 bars so that it is a pattern, okay? And then again, when you get to the B section, you can use the score editor again if you like, but with a different chord progression. So that's how you use the multiple different methods to complete this assignment. Good luck, enjoy.